All right. Welcome back to another episode of Lounge 11 podcast where we love to talk about football. My name is Femi and I'm joined by my incredible co-host, Samco. Samco, how are you doing today?
Doing great, doing great. Let's go. Episode 4.
Fantastic. And today we have a very special guest that's coming into the lounge to join us, none other than Tobi. Tobi is my brother and a Manchester City fan. And we're here to talk about a lot of things. Manchester City, look ahead to the derby, and also kind of what we've made of Manchester City's results and performances so far. But before we get into that, Tobi, how are you doing, man? Welcome to
I'm
the
doing,
lounge.
I'm doing good. Thanks for inviting me. I think I listened to the last, was it 3 episodes?
Yeah, we've done
So
3 so far.
hopefully this is as good as the rest.
Thank you,
Yeah.
man. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. Like to, obviously, if you've seen the other 3 episodes, you know how we get started here. We like to start each of those conversations with your earliest memories when you first knew that you were a City fan, and maybe walk us through some of your most enjoyable moments as a City fan so far.
Man, now I have to think back. So I think I started supporting City, I don't know, maybe 15 odd years ago. I don't really remember. I was supporting some other team and we're not going to go into that. But then, I did the normal routes that people do. I decided I was going to focus on that like league for like 2 years. So I started supporting Bayern Munich, right? So I started watching the Bundesliga. I did all that. And at some point, I'm like, see, I need to watch the Premier League, right? That's where the action is. And I think at the time, City has started doing some good business. They hadn't won any trophies yet because I get that question a lot, right? Did I join after the trophies came? No, I joined before. But the writing was on the wall. I had started to see things. I think at that point we had signed players like Robinho. They were just good players coming into the pipeline, right? And then, we ended up doing amazing stuff the last decade and 5 years. I think you asked me about one of my fondest memories or some of them. Absolutely, it has to be Aguero. Was in 94th minute. Like I remember that game so much because I did not see it. Right. I think I was in school, back in Nigeria, in uni, and then I had stopped watching the game with my friends because I'm like, this is not gonna happen. Right. So I go to my room and then everybody just runs screaming my name. You're like, yo, you guys won, and then I went to watch the replays. Absolutely, absolutely incredible stuff. So definitely my top memory as a City fan.
Yeah, I think as a football fan generally, I think most people know once you say Aguero, like you know exactly what memory
That's
you're
very good
referring
too.
to. So even as a
Yeah.
neutral, we can all kind of reference or relate to that moment one way or the other. But I'll turn this one over to Samko. Samko, I don't know if you have a specific questions.
Oh, I definitely do. I definitely do. I mean, for our viewers, for all documentation purposes, we would really, really love to know. Like you said, there was a club you used to support before. So we don't hide things here. We just have to let it. So we'd love to know who that club was for documentation purposes only.
I knew the minute I got this invite that I was being set up for drags. But anyway, we'll get into it. So I used to support Arsenal a lifetime ago, right? And how did I fall into that? I don't know. I grew up in a family that supported Arsenal, right? Two brothers, they were Arsenal fans. I just started watching football, loved Arsenal, loved the way they played, right? They had amazing players like Henry's one of the GOATs, right? I think for me, I am a fan of good football. And so I think that transition was easy, right? Going from Arsenal with a beautiful style of play to like Bayern Munich for like 2 years, very attacking football, and then to Man City, right? So that was my journey.
That's lovely. Trusting. Good to know. We appreciate you.
How did you find the transition, right? Obviously, you mentioned that you had been an Arsenal fan. I don't even recognize the 2 years as a Munich fan, but hey, if that's part of the story, it's part of the story. But what was the transition like? Because in the Premier League, I personally don't think I could ever support any other team other than Arsenal.
Yeah.
But you've been able to make the switch 15 years ago, like you mentioned, going from Arsenal to Man City. What was that like, making that switch for you? And what inspired the switch?
I mean, it's been a while now, so I don't remember how it felt. I'm sure in the moment it was a bit harder than I remember it to be. What inspired me making the switch? Like, Arsenal was playing complete shit. I couldn't take it anymore. I tried. I really tried. At some point, I decided I'm not going to try any longer. In terms of the transition, again, I don't remember the exact feelings, but I think my decision making framework, if I tried to like play back the years, was right now I'm not going to support Man U, right? I hate the team. I don't think anybody could make me support them. I won't support Tottenham, right? Because I mean, Spurs is Spurs. And so I think at the time, Man City was this relatively unknown club that nobody bothered about. And so it was easy to switch to that club because there were no like strong emotions against them. And I think that helped, that's really how we went.
All right. Fair enough. Well, welcome to the lounge. We have plenty to get through today, so the earlier we get to them, the better. You guys have made quite the start so far. A lot of people, including myself and Samco, had you as one of the favorites, at least, that could potentially win the title this season. So far, so good. It has not been a great start, at least by the standards that you guys have set for yourselves. I think is what you've lost 2 games now, the last 2 games. So it's played 3, won 1 and lost 2. You play Manchester United next. And for all the talk about Amorim and the performances, you're somehow sitting, below United in the table right now. So what have you made about this season's performances so far?
So first thing, it's just been 3 games, right? I want to remember that as I give my opinion of the season. All of that has been very shambolic. It already feels like a continuation of last season, right? Like there's been no major changes. And what is crazy is that we've made some decent signings, right? If you count the players that we bought in January last season, and then you combine them with some of the new folks that have come in, it's not like we've just sat on our ass and not tried to do anything. We have actually tried stuff, right? And so I think it's getting into that territory where you're like, you're not really sure what's not working. At first you say it's the players, and then you say, oh, there's injuries. But then when you spend however millions of pounds that we spent to watch, particularly the last 2 games, it was just terrible, terrible. I think the Spurs game, every season we know we're going to lose to Spurs, right? I've accepted that as a fan, unfortunately. But it's the manner in which you lose, right? I watched that game and I don't think Spurs really broke a sweat, right? I don't think Spurs came out to play. I remember losing to Spurs last season. I think it was 4 something. I don't know. They had an amazing game, right? They played us like no man's business. The game 2 weeks ago, or however long ago it was almost like we just came out to train, right? We never looked like we were going to win that game. And that is very, very, very worrying. Very, very. Even the game against Brighton, it was very open. I think the biggest challenge for me is there's never a point in a 90-minute game where I feel like we are running home with this, right? We're in full control. The first game against, I think it was Wolves, we won 4-0. Wolves just wasted a lot of chances. Like if you go back and you watch the highlights, like that game could have gone, the other way. And I remember in the other conversations we have, I don't know if we call that a podcast, somebody had asked me and I said, yo, I can't judge this team based on the result because the signs were still there. Unfortunately, the signs are still there, right? So I'm just, something has to change.
For me, I remember last season, I always used to have this conversation with a few people, and I always used to say the way you guys played, your system was very dependent on Rodri. And I would always say Rodri is one of those guys that when he's out of this team, I think it's going to affect you guys very, very much. And unfortunately, that situation came in last season. But I wasn't expecting this much of a disruption after Rodri's injury. And when you look at it going down the line, you guys have brought in Nico. I think you still have this guy, what's his name? Calvin Phillips. Apparently, I think he's in your squad or something. But there has never just been someone that was able to like take that mantle while he was away and just try to help you guys move forward. So do you think there is another way out? Because we're talking about, in my opinion, the best manager in Pep. And if there's one thing about him is he knows how to figure things out. That's why I never write him off, regardless of whichever situation he finds himself. But I think now the situation has been dragging for way too long or longer than expected. So do you think he's still going to be able to figure out or find another way to get the tune out of these players? Because when you look at that squad, there's still a lot of talent in there. And the signings you guys made this summer, I think I actually rate all of them very, very highly because they are quite the talented kind of players that suits Pep, because Pep is the one that makes players better. So how do you see that transition, or how do you think he's going to be able to bring this team back to like tuning like what he used to do 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, so I think there are two questions there, right? One is, do I think he can get it done? And two is like, how is he going to get it done? I think the second the second part is the $1 million question, right? I don't get paid, how much they pay Pep. So maybe I'm not in a good position to answer that question. But for the first one, again, Pep's record speaks for him, right? I'm not going to come here and say he's done our chair or, all the other stuff people say. This guy has what? Is it 6-10, 6-9? I don't know what the numbers are, right? When you have that good a record, you deserve the benefit of a doubt. What I will say is this. His first season when he came to City, I remember in the papers, they're like, this guy cannot do what he did in Germany. He can't do what he did in Spain. This is a difficult league. All the stuff they said, right? Obviously, we look back a decade now and all of that is just BS because it's done arguably more, right? But I remember the struggle that first season. I don't remember. I think we finished third. I don't recall. But I remember us, yeah, probably fourth actually, because I remember being very worried that season, like, are we even going to make champs? But I think what he then did was he just needed some time with the players, right, to get them to know how to play in his system. I think that's the biggest challenge now, right? I don't think the system is at fault. Of course, teams have gotten better. Like, they know how to they know how to like try to play around it. But I don't think the system is the problem. I think unlike we've almost always had, we don't have the players that can play in that system effectively just yet. And so the challenge there is, what do you do in the meantime, right? Do you keep losing to Brighton? Do you keep, like, teams are better. Everybody is coming to take our lunch these days, right? So it's, what do you do there? And I think us signing Donnarumma, I feel like that is a logical signing because I don't think Donnarumma fits Pep's style of play, right? I think Pep is more of an Onana type of guy, more of a ball playing goalkeeper, right? So I am hoping that they've identified, like, hey, we just have to go back to the basics, even if it's for the next, say, 10 games, right? Get the simple things right before we can build on top of that.
Do you also think, like, I'm happy you brought Donnarumma up because that signing, like you said, is not really like a Pep type of signing. But do you think there's a situation where also now the club is also looking forward in a situation where if Pep leaves tomorrow, we still have a good, not just young squad, but talented squad? Because that Donnarumma signing, it gives me a very Manchester City type of signing. Like, this is someone that the director of football, the club came together and said, okay, you know what? We need to have two different types of goalkeepers moving forward because let's have it as a succession plan. You have the ball playing guy in Trafford, and now you have another basically world class, arguably one of the best in terms of Donnarumma.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking forward, right? Donnarumma is what I think is like 26, 27, right? So you still get like a solid 4 years out of him as a goalkeeper.
Oh, more than.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. So I think there's some, let's plan after Pep goes. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with the Pep situation. I don't know if it's around next year, if it's around in 2 years. So I think they are starting to think of life after Pep. And to the Donnarumma, I really love the signing because, again, this guy is coming from PSG, right? So I know we talk a lot about ball playing. They didn't want him at PSG. He won the freaking Champions League with PSG, right? How bad can you be to do that? Like, how much of a terrible ball playing goalkeeper can you do to play in a team like PSG the way that they played? We all saw them play last season, right? So I'm excited about that. But yes, to your question, I think there's a bit of, looking forward involved in that signing.
Okay, that's good. So based on everything we've said, because definitely we're going to speak into like the Manchester City, the Manchester United, based on where things are now, what were your expectations before the season? And yes, 3 games is a very little sample size to make that kind of like forecast. But what are your expectations or what do you see moving forward with Man City?
So I'm smiling because I don't think I've actually given my predictions in the other podcast or chat that we have.
Has it changed?
No, it actually hasn't
what
changed.
you had initially?
It hasn't changed.
Okay.
So my prediction coming into this season, and this might surprise a lot of people, I predicted that we're going to finish third. I actually thought Arsenal was going to finish first, but then I heard you guys talk about Arsenal and all of that, like, Liverpool doing nice signings. So I changed that to Liverpool first, Arsenal second, and then City third. Again, I think I tried to be a realist. I think we had a very, very, very bad season, like last year. No trophies. Yes, we finished third, but that third was a struggle, right? So I'm not going to come here and say, we just jump back to it. Like I see if other teams have not improved. So my prediction is third this season, and hopefully we can win like an FA Cup or a Carling Cup, right? And then, go further in the Champions League than we did last season, right? Obviously not win it. I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my prediction. For that to happen though, we have to play better than we did last season, right? So fingers crossed.
Do you have any feeling that Pep might walk away this season? Or do you think he'll finish his contract? Because I think he has 2 years, this year and next year.
Yeah, I think he has 2 years. I think if he wins the Prem, he might walk away. I don't know. I think Pep's personality, and this might be me projecting. I think for a lot of people at that level, when you've won that much, you want to live on a high, right? Winning 16, whatever, and then leaving the Premier League as number 3 for 2 straight years. That's not great. But I think just his personality, he probably wants to stay, and try to win something before he leaves.
That's actually a good segue into my next question here, right? The call you keep referencing is our Sunday banter call that we host on Clubhouse, right? Where everyone's invited, by the way. Shameless plug. But one of the things that has definitely come up in some of those conversations is whether Pep is washed or whether he's done, right? And then you're saying last season third, I think that was one of his first trophyless seasons, or it's probably he's had what, 2?
I think it's had just 2.
Yeah,
First
in his
the
season,
first
entire
and this
career,
one.
right?
Yeah.
And so if it does it again this season, that'll be the third, right? And you're saying you expect that he would want to walk away a winner. What do you make of the other side of the argument that he's unable to do it again, right? Leading to a third season where he ends up trophyless. Does that then lend credit to the conversation that people might just be figuring him out?
I mean, yes, I think there'll be some credit because if you do, like, once can be a fluke, right? 2 times is almost making a pattern, right? So if we go this season and we don't win any trophies, we don't compete at a relatively high level, then I think at that point, the naysayers might have a point behind what they say. I think for now, it's interesting when you look at the set of people that make such statements, right? Is the guys that have now become the noisy neighbors on the other side. For lack of a better word, you can refer to them as the bombs. I think they have experienced a level of, insignificance in the past few years that they then try to rub it off on, other people. And I'm not speaking to them. I'm obviously speaking to the club, right? Man, you finished what? I don't know, last season, no trophies. They've progressively gotten worse. And I think they just project that on everybody else, right? If Arsenal has a bad season, trust me, you're going to say Arteta is washed. Everybody's washed to them. They're just looking for company.
Okay,
You know I'm right. You know I'm right, though.
So
like, let's
listen,
be honest.
I'm a Manchester United shareholder, so I can't partake in any of this, what you're doing right now. But I guess, switching gears for a sec, we've talked about the new players that have come in, right? Are there any of the players so far, given the results that you've had, 2 losses, 1 win, are there any players that you've signed that has impressed you so far?
I think Tijani had a really good first game. I think he controlled the midfield. He was able to give an assist. I don't think he got a goal in that game, but at least he gave an assist. I actually think he scored. So he had a really, really good.
His first game, I think he scored in his first
I think he
game.
scored actually. So he had a really good first game. It's gone relatively quiet in the last 2 games, but I like his positioning, right? I'm not the kind of person that comes out after 1 or 2 games and says this player is the next De Bruyne. No, I need to watch them a bit more. But I think I think it stands out to me. I also like Etnori. I don't think he's the best left back in the world by any means, but I think from what I've seen so far, and I didn't watch him when he was at Wolves. I think we bought him from Wolves, right? From what I've seen, I think he's more defensive minded than what's the other guy's name?
Vadio?
Yes. I think he's a lot more defensive minded. And because we struggle with not conceding goals, I think that plays better to his style of play, his strengths. So I think those two people stand out to me.
I guess my final question on transfers, you've also let a lot of your, for lack of a better word, old guard go, right? You've seen the likes of, I think Kyle Walker he went in January 1st, but I guess it was a permanent move in the summer. KDB obviously is left, Gundogan is left. It almost feels like the transition now out of that era. Which of those, and Grealish as well, your record signing from a few years back.
Grealish, Akanji, Ederson.
Right. Oh, Akanji left, confirmed. I didn't even see that.
He's an Inter.
Wow, I didn't actually see that.
When I actually saw it today, him training at Inter, I was like, oh wow, this guy still left. You know, he left again.
Because I know there were talks about it, right? But it looked like they broke down to some other club. Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, there's been quite the exodus, right? Are there any of those players that you think, you would have kept as part of this transition? Because that's a number of changes very quickly.
Man, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, if you ask me which players do I miss the most, De Bruyne at his peak. Obviously, with age, football is a physical sport. I think the one person that I've kept is maybe Akanji, just because we lack so much defensively. That said, Akanji was just like all my other players. It was prone to injuries, right? So you have him, but you don't really have him. And so I think it just got to a point where all those players had to leave, right? Trust me, if I was in charge, there'll be a few more players on that list. And man, it's interesting because we just called 7 players. So I think this takes me back to Pep's first season, because it's now like he's playing with a completely new set of players, right? And I'm hoping that what happened in the second season is what happens this season, where they were able to figure things out and make magic happen. But we'll see.
And finally, on, I guess player exodus, we have to shout out, Ederson, who also left the club this summer. We've talked about Donnarumma and Trafford, and I think most people think that Donnarumma probably ends up as your number one. But for the last, decade or so, Ederson has been that guy for you guys, right? Where do you think Ederson ranks, in your view, as far as all-time Premier League goalkeepers, right? He leaves with multiple league titles, the Champions League, domestic trophies, all of that stuff, right? Even goals and assists. Did he score? No, did he score a goal? Assist for sure.
Assist for sure. I don't know if he scored the penalty. No, I don't think so.
Penalty,
yeah?
Maybe. He probably did.
Yeah.
But I know definitely he has the record for Premier League assists for a goalkeeper, or at least tied it, right? So, yeah. But anyway, the question really is, where does he rank for you as far as, all-time great goalkeepers in the league?
Yeah, I don't like ranking players historically, of course, except we're talking about Messi, where I'll go all out. But I just think there's always a recency bias, right? Because as you ask that question, I'm like, Ederson puts in the work, right? He had more assists than some midfield players. I think I saw the stats last year, crazy stats. But then I remember keepers like, Petr Cech. There was this Arsenal goalkeeper, I keep forgetting his name now. Seaman, right? There's just been a lot of really good goalkeepers that I won't come here and say, Ederson is up there. I think for Man City, he fits into the team perfectly, right? So for us, it was good, right? I remember when we let go of the English goalkeeper,
Joe Hart,
thanks. I keep forgetting this guy's name. But I really like Joe Hart. I know a lot of fans, they were tired of the guy. But I liked him, and I was like, man, what is all this? What's all these experiments that we are running? And then Ederson came in after a few trials and errors, and he just fits. So definitely top there for Man City goalkeepers, but I won't say for the Premier League. Premier League has had some very, very solid goalkeepers.
So would you say he's a Premier League? So that means, or let me just ask a question. Would you say he's a Premier League legend?
Premier League, I think now you've expanded the reach, right? You're not saying Premier League like goalkeeping legend. When you get
No,
to Premier League,
goalkeeping legend, basically, goalkeeping legend.
I don't know.
I think he
I
For
don't
is.
me,
know.
it has to be up there. Right?
For me, it
Here's
has to
my
be.
challenge. When you say legend, right? I know you're talking about goalkeepers. But when you say legend, I start thinking Aguero. I think of like other positions when we talk about legends, right? Talk about Aguero, David Silva, or Henry. And I'm like, for goalkeepers, I don't know. But then I don't know who else. Like, if I list like maybe 3 goalkeepers, I don't know who else I'm going to call outside of Ederson, right? So maybe
I
he's
really
there.
think he is. I
I
really
have
think
him
he.
there for sure.
Yeah,
I
I have him
mean,
there for sure because I think he changed how people looked at goalkeeping alone
correct.
from when he was brought to the Premier League, right? I think he changed it because when he came, Pep brought in the whole playing from the back
Yep.
and all that. Then when you now include, don't forget this guy was part of a treble winning team, a
True.
4-pit team. Also, they won the Champions League. He also did the Centurions. He was the one, like, come on, man.
So I
Like, this
think
guy,
the reason, again, he was my goalkeeper, right? I have nothing against him. I think the reason I struggle to put him up there is all these things you mentioned, right? The ball playing goalkeeper is because he played in a team like Man City. If you played at Arsenal, it will also be like a ball playing goalkeeper. But if you went to play at Chelsea, did we talk about Ederson the same way, right? We'll never know. We'll never know.
That is a debate, but you can only go off what
True.
you have in front
True.
of you based on the information and everything. And for me, from the time he stepped into the Premier League till he left, I think I put him up there with the best in the Premier League. I'm not saying he's above Schmeichel, Van der Sar, or anybody. But in terms of goalkeepers, he's definitely up there for me.
Yeah, I mean, it can be up there. I think we can then get into a conversation of what do you refer to as a legend, right?
Yeah, but legend is not, zero sum now. It's not a one.
Yeah, because I think everything that you want to, or whatever metrics you want to use to define a legend, I think he has it.
Yeah. I don't think there is a conversation regarding keepers that excelled in the Premier League. There's nothing that they're going to put on the table that Ederson would not be able to put on the table. Whether it's like Golden Gloves, whether it's Champions League trophy, whether it's league titles, domestic titles, and stuff like that. So from that perspective, and also being such an integral part of those title winning City teams, I think he deserves a shout for sure, right?
Maybe I'm underselling him. I know I mentioned recency bias, right? So maybe last season just rubbed off on me the wrong way. But now the more you talk about it, yeah, he had some very, very solid years.
All right. Teams like Southampton won ball playing goalkeepers. Like, let's keep it involved. Man, that was because of what he did. Because it's one thing, let's not forget that Pep brought, I think it was Joe Hart. He pushed him to the side, brought in
someone
Bravo.
else.
No, he brought in Bravo, yeah, from Barcelona.
He brought in Ederson. So it's not just even bringing any goalkeeper, but bringing in someone to do the job he wanted. But that person executed that job till the very T.
Yeah.
In the league, like the Premier League, yeah, for me, Premier League legend for sure. I put him up there.
No, for sure. He changed the game, right? I mean, he changed the game so much. We saw bombs like Man U trying to get players like Onana.
Oh my God. For the record, man, Samco and I try to bring on the United fans so that this is not a one-sided conversation. But let's just say for scheduling reasons, they decided not to show up, right? So we'll
like
try and make this
they won the last
balanced.
game. You think they'd show up? They won the last game.
We heard from some of them that they wanted to see the results first. So we'll see. Actually, so speaking on Manchester United, maybe we'll look ahead. Obviously, there's a big game coming up this weekend. The Manchester Derby always promises a lot of firecrackers, no matter the league standing or form of both teams, right? It looks like the last games, if you go back 6 games or so, it's been fairly even, win 2, drawn 2, lost 2, something like that, right? Or I know it's been even at least.
Yeah,
so what are your expectations going into this game? Both of these teams are not at their best moments, right? So what are your expectations going into the game?
So obviously, I know I've talked the big game against Man United and said some interesting things about them. But at the end of the day, whenever we face them, it's always a difficult. Maybe not always, but recently it's been a difficult game. I think it depends on how we set up, right? One thing we know about Man U is they are a different type of team when they play against a team that they consider big, a big opponent, right? I think they're always happy to sit back and counter attack. So it just depends on how we set up for that game. Again, this is Pep. What I would love to see is us playing a very, very cautious game, a very settled game, because I think that would surprise them. I don't think they have answers to that. I think they come in with one plan in mind, and obviously they try to execute. But again, knowing Pep, the way he's played for the last few years, I don't think he just sits back. And that is something I'm a bit worried about, right? So it just depends on how we set up. If we play a normal game, I can see that game ending like 2-1 to Man U. If we stay cautious, and take our chances, I can very easily see us beating them 3.
Big game talk, man. Are there key matchups that you'll be looking for? Like obviously Euro and Delete have had, I guess by all accounts, decent season so far. Euro is everybody talks him up, like is a really good defender, right? And Haaland, in my mind, is probably one of the best in the world, right? So, are there any other key matchups that you're looking out for that might determine the outcome of this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Euro. I think I am most concerned about Mbeumo. Does he play? Is he right wing or left wing?
Right.
Yeah, on the right.
Right. So he's going to be matching up against, I don't know who's going to play because apparently Etnori is injured, right?
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I think he's down with something, right? So I don't know who's going to play that position for us
Is
the next
Mario
game.
back?
Who's that? Gvardiol? No, he's not back. So I suspect
Oh.
maybe Nico O'Reilly might play left back. We'll see. But whoever plays, like Mbeumo is obviously a very physical player, very fast. So I'm looking. I think that's something to be watchful of. I'm also a bit worried about Cunha, and I think Cunha would try to exploit. What's his name? My left back.
Left back or
Right back.
My
yeah.
right back actually. So either Nunes or Rico Lewis. I think he's going to try to come in on that left wing a lot.
Isn't Cunha injured or is it
Oh,
recovered?
that's true. I don't know if he's back because in the last game he kind of put up like a hamstring or something.
Right.
Maybe out. I haven't seen or heard anything.
Yeah,
about it.
hopefully he's out, right? Because whoever is up against on that wing, I think is just snacks for him, right? I think it's snacks. So that's something I'm worried about. So yes, I think Man U, again, this is the way they play us, or at least they've played for the last 3 seasons. They try to take advantage of wingers. So that'll be something to look at.
Yeah, I just did a quick Google. I'm not sure the source, but it says that Cunha and Mason Mount are officially out for the weekend. We'll
Okay.
see, but I think
Mason Mount.
yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I
hopefully
haven't validated that or anything.
it stays that way. I think there's a lot of like injuries that got picked up this international break. Because I think that's where Etnori got injured. Don't quote me on that. I think there was another player that he said he went off.
Marmoush, I think Marmoush
Yeah,
is also injured for you
Mamouche,
guys.
right. So TBD. Yet we just wait for the lineups and see who's available.
But with that in mind, if all these key players are out, you've also predicted a 3-1, 2-1 potentially victory for Man City at the Etihad. So how does all that pan out?
Again, to be fair, even if they had their full squad, I think that game depends on how we play and less the squad they have. Go in, be cautious, don't try to do stupid stuff, and we win that game, right? If we go in all guns blazing, I can see them counter-attacking us to like a 2-1 loss. I know that doesn't answer your question. It just depends on how we set up. I think it's similar to, I listened to the pod, was it 2 weeks ago, when you guys were talking about Arsenal, Liverpool, right? I think it depends on the players that you pick, the way you decide to play the game. If we do everything right, we definitely, walk away with a draw. If we don't do our assignments, then of course, we become snacks for them, unfortunately.
In terms of the game, to be honest, I don't know what to expect because there are so many angles I look at it from. Ruben is yet to win 2 games back to back. They won their last game. I don't know if I think last season Pep lost 3 games back to back. I think
More actually.
he did more, right?
Yeah,
So to be honest, this game I have no idea what's going to
it's a
happen.
hard one to call, man.
One thing I know for sure is the Manchester United shape and everything is going to be intact. That's the
Yep.
one thing I've always said about Ruben Amorim. Against the big teams, their shape, they just, they sit back, they watch, and then they try to like go on the transition. And Man City's defense right now hasn't been the best, especially in the last 2 games. And you could see, like he said, Spurs didn't even have to play that well for them to win. Brighton picked their moments. Same thing with Manchester United. Can they pick their moments? But at the end of the day, you also have to look at the attacking options that Manchester United have. They literally have to take their chances for them to be able to get something from this game. So one rings louder to me, which is the Ruben not being able to win back-to-back games. It just still doesn't make sense to me how he hasn't done that.
In
So
over 30 games, or what has
over
it
30
been now?
games, yeah. Since November last year, he's not won
That
back-to-back
is
games.
a crazy stat. I did not know that.
Yeah,
But
very
again, they
cool.
finished 16th last season, right? So I guess it tracks.
It tracks, right?
Yeah.
What I
So
will say is, I think when we play Man U, again, I think this is typically for every big team Man U plays, right? They always seem like a different team,
yeah, they're
right?
much better.
Yeah, they play much better. They run a bit faster. So I think all those statistics kind of go out the window when you're playing a big
Yeah,
team.
because my form goes out the window.
Yeah,
And I think Ruben hasn't even lost to Pep, if I can think. Their last 3-4 games.
Oh, going back
I don't know.
to Sporting.
Going back to Sporting.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So there are
Well,
like so many ways
I
for you
feel
to
like
look at.
did we beat Man U last season? I
I
know
don't
we
think you
had
did. I think there was
the
there was a
2-1 loss.
draw. There was a 2-1 loss at Etihad. I think you guys drew at Old Trafford. I can't remember. But I don't even know if Ruben was there, but I think he was. So yeah, this game I can't call this one, to be honest, because if I'm going to call this game, I'm just going to go of who the better manager is. But then again, he's not the one playing the game, it's the
And,
players on the pitch, right?
and that's
So
facts.
yeah, so I don't know. Because in terms of your midfield, for example, like who's going to play? Rodri didn't go for international break. Nico, we've not really heard much about Nico.
Yeah,
So
Chucky
I'm
is
thinking
injured.
Bernardo, Czech is injured. So I'm thinking what? Bernardo, Tijani, and who? Rodri, maybe?
It doesn't leave leave much to be desired, to be fair. But I
Yeah,
think
and then
Tijani
up top,
is in for that game. I don't think he's injured,
yeah,
right?
then
So we
up
have
top
that
is
as
going to be
well.
what? Haaland, Doku, maybe, because Mamush is out. Foden, apparently, I think is still out. On the right, who will be on the right? Maybe, is Savinho back?
No, Savinho is not back, but Oscar Bob will probably play.
Oscar Bob, that's
Yeah.
true, Oscar Bob. So yeah, I don't know where this game goes, to be honest. I really don't know.
I just looked up the stats, by the way. Ruben Amorim versus Manchester City. The current record is 2 wins and a draw in the 3 encounters that he's
In the 3
played. So
encounters.
he won with Sporting, won with United at the Etihad
And drew
in
at
December, and they drew in April. So actually, he hasn't lost to
Yeah, he hasn't lost
Pep
to Pep.
just yet. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, to be fair, I think it's going to be a boring game.
Not for us, neutrals. For the neutrals, it will be really interesting, right? One way or the other, there'll be a plot for our banter call on Sunday. But Samco just listed the number of players, right? Which leads me to my next question, right? Obviously, one of our group chats going back and forth on this a little bit today, but if we had to draft a combined Manchester 11 from both sides, right? Manchester City and Manchester United, right? Forget about what they've done this season, just the players available to both managers, right? You want to pick the best 11 available based on the quality of the players. What does that 11 look like? Obviously, you're a City fan. So is there a Manchester United player that you put in your team right now, and why?
I think I'd take Euro. Not because I like him, but I just think he's much better than, the options we have right back. right? So I think it's better than.
So Euro to play
You play
right
him
back.
right back.
Oh wait, is Euro left back or right back?
Euro is center back, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up like Manu's.
No,
Who
he
plays
plays
right back for them?
Oh, I guess because of their weird
because of
formation,
their
right?
weird
Yeah.
formation here. So it looks like he plays at the right back. So right wing back is Ahmad that plays it for them. So they played in the back three of Euro, Delete, and who's the last person? I just skipped my mind.
Is it
I know they've
Dogu?
played Hayden there, they've played Luke Shaw there. So
You
I
mean
think
in
Luke
the
Shaw.
defense, yeah.
Yeah, in the defense, yeah. So Luke Shaw plays like that left center back for them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That,
But I mean,
that
you
makes
could
it
pick
interesting
whatever,
because
right? You could pick whoever you want from the let's go with a standard 4-3-3 that most of the top managers use now. So
okay, so I definitely go with my new goalkeeper, right?
Donnarumma or Trafford?
Yeah,
Because you have two.
Donnarumma. I go with all my defenders except right back. You can substitute any of the defenders for the right back. I'll take it.
Wait, sorry, I don't understand. You would take all of their defenders
No,
except
all my defenders.
No, all his
so
defenders.
you would take none of Manchester
Yeah,
United's
no.
defenders, not even Euro.
Really? No Euro.
I'll take. So I thought Euro played right back. Apparently, he doesn't. But I'll take him and put him in that right back. The point is, I am not keeping my right back. Right? It could be any player on their team.
No, but
What
that's
do you-
interesting because I don't even know that I'll take Stones over Euro right now.
Yeah, but Stones doesn't start.
So who starts for you guys in centre back?
Diaz and Vadio, right?
Sorry, I missed what you said, Samco.
Like who starts on your center back right now?
Yeah,
Because I know Vadiol is injured, but I think the first game was Vadiol
Kuznov or something. Doesn't Kuznov
That's
play?
true. I forgot that guy.
but that's the thing. There's so many injuries. I think Kusanov is also injured.
Let's put injuries to the side for a second, right? Like everybody's fit. You have the full strength of the squad. You want to pick your best Manchester 11.
Right, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Everybody is fit.
Yeah. Who gets it?
So you're going Euro, Delete versus Diaz and Vadio.
Or
I don't-
Stones, I guess.
yeah.
Or Kusanov.
No, but Kusanov is probably not starting if everybody's fit.
Okay,
Yeah, I
fair.
don't think Kuznov starts, yeah.
That's a difficult choice. Because I don't think I pick any of their defenders if my team is like fit.
Fair. I'm not trying to guide you to
Yeah,
an answer.
yeah.
I'm just curious as to.
Fair. The only person I will push for is Euro, but my question is, who am I dropping for?
Exactly. Like full squad.
Yeah, but you guys you've not answered me yet. So it's Diaz. Who's undroppable other than Diaz, if you're thinking about it from a City standpoint?
I don't think Vadiol is droppable.
Interesting. Okay.
When Vadiol has been fit, he plays.
Yeah.
And he's been one of their best. So I don't think Vadiol is droppable. So that's why I said Euro is the person I'll push for the United side, but then it's going against Diaz, right? And you're saying if everybody is fit and on form, then I'll go Diaz. But Diaz hasn't really been on form. So that's why I'm kind of like pushing Euro, right? Because I rate Euro. He's played very well. But it's a very tough one though.
Then I don't think there's a clear
Yeah, it's just your
improvement,
price.
right?
Yeah,
So
preference.
because of that, I'll just go with my defenders.
Okay, fair. Well, your entire back four you keep, which is currently, I guess, what do you have? Nori on the left.
On the left, yeah.
Diaz and Variol in centre back positions.
Yep.
And then you would trade. That's the
And
problem. What do you do
Trading
with right
Oscar
back?
Bob, whoever, that's like blank check. I'm taking whoever they have on that right back.
They don't even want whoever they have. Is it not
The only
Dalot that we do?
The only they can put forward is Dalo to
Yeah.
play right back in that kind of back four
Formation, yeah.
That is such a
Tough one.
because it's now like who's worse.
Yes, I'll put Euro in that right
Yeah, then
back. So
Euro gets in, I guess.
I'll put
Okay,
Euro there.
let's.
I think Euro needs a good shout, to be honest.
So we got Donnarumma, the three City defenders, and Euro in the back four. Midfield gets really interesting, right? We can only squeeze in three.
That's
For most
interesting.
people, it will be Rodri and two others, but let's see what you guys have.
No, for sure. Rodri makes the DM.
I would go Rodri, Gianni, and Bruno.
I'm thinking about the Bruno one.
while you're thinking, so Samco, remember, is it Chersky or Cherky,
Yeah,
whatever his name
Turkey.
is? He's injured, right? But assuming fully fit, Bruno over Cherky, right? For you, if you're drafting a team right now.
And that's the difficult one. That's what I'm thinking about.
That one is hard because I have my own like problems against Bruno, right? Like I have my own problems against Bruno, and this has nothing to do with his talent. But since we're just picking it based on like everyone's feet, we know the kind of talent that they have. I think I would trust Bruno over Cherky.
I'll go with that decision because me not wanting to pick Bruno is because of his attitude, right? But if you're removing that from the conversation, then I think it makes the team.
Yeah.
And then up front, obviously, Haaland.
Well, there's two more positions there, but just so we're tracking. So right now, 2 United players have gotten into the combined 11 in Bruno and Euro, which would have been mine as well. So now we have the front 3 to fill out, right? I don't know if anybody is not going to have Haaland in there, but let's hear it.
Yeah, for sure. Haaland takes everybody's spot.
I think it does for me as well.
Yeah, that's settled. That's not a conversation.
Yeah, but then who are the people flanking him?
I'll take Mbeumo over Oscar Bob. I love Oscar Bob. But Mbeumo has pace. He has strength. I'm taking that. I haven't watched enough of Mason Mounts, but Doku stresses me, man.
Wait, so for you, it's down to Doku or Mason Mount for the left forward positions?
Yeah, what else
You're
is there?
skipping Marmoush, you're skipping
Oh,
Cunha.
I forgot Marmoush. Like, there's so many injured players that I keep forgetting them. In that case, I'm taking Marmoush. Yeah,
over
Marmoush.
Cunha. Assuming Cunha plays that position.
Already have Mbeumo.
Are you picking the best players or are you trying to bias the outcome for your City mans?
Okay, when you put it like that, if Cunha is playing that wing, I go with Cunha. Marmoush is fast, but Cunha is fast as well. And I think Cunha has a bit more strength. So yeah, I go with Cunha. I think is in between Marmoush and Doku, right? So I pick Cunha.
Samco, who would you have?
I'm going Marmoush and Mbeumo.
Marmoush and Mbeumo. Marmoush and Mbeumo and Haaland for you. So, I mean, again, that's your response. That's fine. But why do you have Marmoush over any of the other players, including Cunha? Cunha was a top 10 goal scorer last season in the league.
Yeah, he was. I think his main strength is more of like ball carrying. If I was choosing, I think that's one of his main strengths. And I think I already have that in my midfield in people like Tijani, for example. Right? So for a strike force, I'll go Marmoush. I think he's much more of a technical player. I like the way he also carries the ball. He's able to dribble, his finishing and everything. So I would prefer his skill set on the left more than Cunha. Yeah. But I rate both players. I'm a big fan of Cunha as well. But that would be my preferred choice, yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds like a strong starting 11.
Exactly.
Looks like Samco, you had 3 United players in the combined 11. So Euro, Mbeumo, and Bruno.
Yeah. Who did we choose for left back?
I think Tobi chose his
Eto'o.
defender, Eto'o, yeah.
And who's mine is Dogu?
Dogu or Luke Shaw, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's interesting because I'm sure if we had a United fan on here, they'd probably disagree a little bit. But I wanted to touch on just given the outlook of this team that you've now put together. I guess both of you have put together. Samko, obviously on one of the last episodes, you had talked about United being a small club and you have reflected that even in the way, or not, sorry, let me not misquote you. So I think the exact words you said were that United is not a big club anymore, right? Yeah. And like I was mentioning, you have now reflected that in how you've selected. Only 3 players got into the combined 11, even though United is sitting above City right now in the table. Why do you feel, or why do you consider United to no longer be a big club?
Like, again, just before I go into it, what people think is not banter or me going like straight at United or anything. That's not the case. I looked at it from the standpoint, like I said, outside them having we all know they have a global fan base. We all know in terms of revenue, which is part of the things that make a big club, they are up there. But I look at it in terms of, I made that call based on competitive metrics, right? Or how we'll take a look at big clubs. If you notice, there was something Tobi said at the beginning. He said, Man U have been progressively regressing. Like they've been going back progressively every year. And that is the standpoint, or that is part of the metrics that I was using, right? So, like I said, for example, we can look at them for the last few years. We saw the way they've literally been going backwards, right? I think they finished second or third with Ten Hag, and I think they went to 8 and they ended up at 15th, right? So let's look at this season. There was something I said in that episode when I said I was watching the game against Grimsby and I saw Cunha. And I asked myself, what was the difference between him being at Manchester United and him being at Wolves? Right? I said there was no difference for me because first, there's a reason they were playing the Carabao Cup that early. It's because of where they finished and they were not involved in Europe. Right? I went back and I took a look at the table. Go check and see where Wolves finished in terms of points and where Manchester United finished in terms of points. They both had 42 points last season. And this was me just looking at it based on that game. So I didn't even know Wolves finished with 42 points, right? So now we are in this season. If you're considered a big club, I want to believe you would be in all the conversation in terms of competitive metrics, right? Your name should be involved in trying to win your league title and the Champions League, right? So if you look at this season, I'll ask both of you, is Manchester United in the conversation for the league title this season?
Of course not.
Are they in the conversation for the Champions League this season?
They're not in the Champions League.
Okay, so let's even bring in another European competition. Are they in the conversation for Europa League this season?
They're not in any competitions. That's the point.
Are they in the conversation for the Carabao Cup this season?
No, I think, is that the one they just got
that was the one they just got
exactly.
out. So the FA Cup starts in January. So by August 28, August 29, United are not in any conversation competitive-wise. No conversation competitive-wise by August 29th. We're only 3 games into the season. For them, they are 4 games into the season. So right now, you're saying the only conversation they have or where their name comes up is in FA Cup that starts in January. So if you look at the other big clubs in the other leagues, the Bayern Munich, Napoli, Inter, PSG, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, Barcelona, if I ask the same question for those clubs, let's bring England into it, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, are these clubs in those conversations? So based on a competitive metric scale, this is why I said, I don't see them as that big club anymore because they are not even in these conversations anymore. A lot of people have forgotten. I asked this question the other day. I said, do you realize that Nottingham Forest have won they've won the Champions League in their history back to back. But somehow they disappeared and they've been in the championship and they just came back. Sometimes until you lose it, you don't know what you have. If you're consistently regressing, I don't know how many big clubs consistently regress. So that was literally where I was coming from when I made that statement.
So let me jump in, right, and just kind of play devil's advocate because unfortunately we don't have a United fan on the pod today to, I guess, defend their club. But you have an owner, so that's as best as you get. But would you then say that the term big club, as you have described it, is transient in the sense that every season it can change? Everything you've described, this is the only season that it truly applies to Manchester United, right? The progressive regression or whatever you called it. Yeah, okay, we can call it that. But this is the first season where you can make that case that they are not in Europe, second, third week and whatever. They're out of most competitions by the third game week. Like they were in Europe last season. I think the season before that. They've also won a couple of domestic trophies in this period, right? So if we want to be like objective, this is the first season that all of those things apply at the same time. So if next season they come back and become a Champions League team and all that, does that make them a big club again?
So why do you think everything came down to this season? It stems back from what has been happening for years.
Yeah, no, I know. But the question is, all the metrics that you have used, the competitive metrics, all come together to be true this season, but not prior seasons. They were just in the Europa League final a few weeks ago, a few months ago. So as a United fan, I'll come back and say, well, but I just played a final a few months ago. I just won the FA Cup that you're talking about not too long ago and the Carabao Cup not too long ago as well, right? So in this one season that all of these things apply, is that what now makes me no longer a big club, right? I'm just asking from an objective perspective of a United fan.
It's not just based on this season. And that's why I said it all stems from somewhere, right? That's why I said that progressive decline is why I made that statement. I said, I don't see them as that big club anymore. We all started watching football very, very young. As Arsenal fans, they were our biggest rivals. Even till today, Manchester United is one of those clubs I do not want to lose to, right? So if you even remember 2 years ago when they won the FA Cup, when they won the Carling Cup, you remember on our clubhouse, I haven't made it the same time. A lot of people were coming at me and I said, look, the FA Cups and the Carling Cups don't put people over the cracks. I don't hear the Real Madrid Barca fans coming out to say we won the Super Cup. Oh, so we've had a good season and everything, right? Yes, England is put on a bigger scope and everybody look at those cups and say yes. But again, let's look at the actual real competitive metrics. When was the last time Manchester United were in the conversation for the Premier League or the Champions League? Conversation, I'm not even saying when last did they win it. I'm talking about conversation now because nobody has a God-given right to win, right? But you have the right to be very competitive. They haven't been. They haven't been, and this is not me throwing shades or anything. It's me just saying exactly what it is. I've put Arsenal in the same conversation. We haven't won the title in what, over 20 years? I myself did not consider Arsenal a big club when we're not even, all we're talking about was top four. That's not what big clubs, that's not the kind of conversation you want to compete. I used to tell myself, I would do anything for Arsenal to just be in a competitive state to win for the league. Now we're in that conversation. All I want to do is win the league. We've seen big clubs like Chelsea and so many people drop to 12th, drop to 14th, but they make it back up there, right? But for United, that hasn't been the case. It hasn't been the case. And I think their owners, the board, I think it also stems from the top as well, right? Because we are comparing them to the big, gigantic organization that we knew them to be. And if we're comparing them from now till then, it's literally not the same. It's literally not the same. Chelsea finished what? 12th, I think, and won the Champions League, if I remember. I know they finished outside the top 10 when they won the Champions League and stuff like that, right? Like, even look at the last 2-3 years where Chelsea hasn't really been in those, those kind of conversations. At least you're seeing them, they've made it back into the top four, right? You could see that they went back, but they're trying to climb back up again. With Poch, they finished, was it 6th or 5th? I can't remember. And then United knocked them to the Conference League. But for United, there's been a progressive decline. Are they going to be able to make it back there? Yes, they can, because number one, they have the resources, right? But in terms of the competitive metrics, which I said that was what I was using to make that call, they don't meet those conversations. So even if this season they were not out of the Carling Cup, for example, right? Let's say they beat Grimsby, they're still not in the conversation for the Premier League. They're still not in the conversation for the Champions League. Will they be next season? We have no idea. Okay, let me ask you guys a question. Where do you think United is going to finish this season? What were your predictions?
Mine was outside the top six.
Was that?
Outside the top six.
Same for me.
Matches.
Let me flip this question to Tobi, because Tobi, being the City fan, he talked about at the start of the pod that they are the new noisy neighbors, right? You guys were considered the noisy neighbors by the great Sir Alex Ferguson back in the day. How do you feel now hearing Samco talk about United? Do you agree that they're no longer a big club, or is that just pants?
No, I 100% agree, right? And there's no bias in well, at least I don't believe there's any bias in my answer. I don't consider Manchester United a big club outside of the name Manchester United. I know you'd ask, is being a big club transient? To some extent, yes, right? But again, last season was not a blip, right? The expression I used was progressively, declining. This thing has been coming. We've been watching it for years. So I think it's been a process. And I think the easiest litmus test for this, right? Because it's easy for Arsenal fans to come on here and, say what we say about Man U. It's easy for me as a Man City fan to say what I say. I think the litmus test is ask any fan of any top 4, top 6 club, regardless of their definition of a big club outside of, the financial metrics. Ask them if they think Man U is a big club, right? Because I watched the video last week, and I feel like the only people that came or that were against that statement were Man U fans. If everybody does not think you're a big club, like, is it that we're all blind, or you're just the one that you're the only one with the perfect perspective as a Man U fan, right? I think they're definitely not a big club, and I think one of their problems is that they don't accept that. Right, you have to accept where you are before you can build on top of it, and they don't want to do it. And honestly, long may that last.
And mind you, I can still see them as a big club again when.
No, of course, of course, right? Look at Newcastle. Newcastle was Newcastle was a big club back in the days, right? They went through their valley season and then they've come back, right? I think, they're doing really well for themselves. So if you come back, you become a big club. There's no, again, this is not banter. This is not bias. This is not hate, right? I'm saying it the way I see it, right? You start competing tomorrow, you're a big club.
All right, I think that's a good place to draw the line on that conversation. We have a few more things to get to, so we can wrap up here. Very quickly, did you guys see, speaking of big clubs, by the way, and as a City fan, I think you're closely tied to this. Did you see the news that came out today with Chelsea and the charges that were levied against them?
I saw the headline. I didn't read the news. My first thoughts was they're coming for all of us. We're in the same
Please,
boat.
who is all of us?
No worry, you guys are about to get a mail.
Just the cheats,
But I said I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with it. I just saw the headline. I'm like, yeah, Chelsea, whatever they said you did, you definitely did that for sure. So, Samco, I know you're usually on the pulse of this thing, so I don't know if you had the chance to unpack it just yet.
I tried to just get a little bit more information because the first thing I wanted to do was know exactly the regulations that were breached. I wasn't able to get full details, but based on few articles and everything that I read, one of the summaries that I got for one of the breaches, because I think there were 3 different ones, was that Chelsea had made under the table payments to agents or families of players to ensure or to basically bias towards Chelsea, right? And mind you, what's the third guy, the Blue Lake, Clear Lake or something, whatever they call themselves, they were the one that reported these stuffs to the FA because apparently when they were trying to take over Chelsea, remember the deal was between themselves and the British government. So when they found out those situations based on their own investigations that they did, they literally raised those red flags to the authorities to let them know. And also that was part of the reason why apparently about 100 million was taken away from the deal that they were going to use to actually purchase Chelsea. But the question I asked myself was, because I think it was a very long timeline, about 12 to 13 years of when these regulations were breached. And the only question I just asked myself was why always Chelsea? Why are you guys always involved with something that has to do with cheating, bending the rules, or finding loopholes? Why? Why always you guys? You have had transfer bans, you've paid all type of fines and everything. And it's just I just don't know. But I guess the new guys are trying to clear the name of Chelsea, but regardless, rules were broken. Financial rules were broken and stuff like that. Yeah, that was the little I could get from it.
I think Tobi's feeling left out when you say why always Chelsea, because
you just
City
had to.
they're there, and we'll find out more very shortly.
Listen,
I don't have more information than you
guilty,
do.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Was that
innocent until proven guilty?
Of course,
right?
no cheats.
And you see what he said? Innocent until proven guilty, right? Because they still have their court in case. Chelsea's just get settled.
Yeah.
There's so many financial settlements everywhere. I'm just why always you guys? Why always you guys? But yeah, I think this one again is going to be another financial fine, and
right.
then especially for the fact that the owners brought the FA's attention to it. So yeah.
All right, well, let's close out here with a quick look ahead to the rest of the games. We spent quite a bit of time talking about the derby, Manchester City and United. So we're going to look at some of the other games. Big news coming out of Forest. We play them on Saturday, first game to open up the game weekend. They've made a change. They've let go of their manager, Nuno, and brought in someone that we're all very familiar with, Ange. Um, how are you feeling about that game? And obviously with the changes, Samco, like, are you expecting a new manager bounce or, a home win?
I'm a fan of Ange. Like, I was one of the people that recommended him to Spurs and stuff like that. So
Thank you. God bless you.
I'm a big fan of Ange. But then again, when you look at the Nottingham Forest squad, you have to admit they have a lot of quality, right? I'm sure the kind of quality Ange would have also appreciated when he was at Spurs, right? He has his way of football, which is, some people call it suicide football and everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how he moves forward with the team, right? Because when you look at Ange being hired, I looked at it from the place of Nottingham Forest can't confirm or tell us that he was hired based on his form last season. I think he was hired based on one game or based on winning the Europa League. And they are in the Europa League this season. I don't think it's a bad appointment. I think it's a good appointment. But then again, it's like when you look at where they are coming from and where they are trying to go is opposite side of the spectrum, because Nunes was a different type of manager, playing sometimes a back three, but very defensive and solid defensively. We know Ange is a very attacking type of manager. Some of the Forest faithfuls have wanted a change in terms of their style of football. So I think it's a very interesting appointment. In terms of the game against Arsenal, I don't know why I have this feeling that he's not going to go all attack for his first game. Because if you look at what he did, like some people have said since like the quarterfinals or semifinals of the Europa League, I think he's going to try to be a little bit like, keep it a little cagey and all. So I'm not really expecting them to go all fiery, because if they do, I'll be shocked. Because, and for one person should know, that is not how you want to play Arsenal, especially at the Emirates. So I think he's going to try to like keep his shape, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy he's back in the Premier League though. Like I said, I think he has better quality players than he had at Spurs. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does with this team.
Interesting that you say that he has better quality players than at Spurs, although they did finish higher than Spurs last season. Do you truly believe that? Like, especially this season? Or you mean like when he was at Spurs?
No, I think when he was at Spurs,
Right.
like if you compare the players he has at Forest now compared to when he was at Spurs, I think he has better quality now, because you're looking like the likes of Gibbs White, the guy they bought from the Italian league. I can't pronounce his name. They have Elliot Anderson, the centre backs, the goalkeeper. They just brought in Zinchenko. They have Ola Aina. They have Williams who can come off the bench. They brought in Douglas Luiz that used to play for Aston Villa. So I think if you compare it to what Spurs had last season, and let's not forget, even when Spurs had like the likes of Son wasn't really like in and out. He had his few injuries, same things with Madison. So in terms of like switching those players, I think he has more to work with. Let me say he has more to work with. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Just a quick take on, the first game. I actually think Ange plays a very attacking game. And it gives me the vibe of somebody that believes the system works, but that the players did not work for the system. Right? So I get the feeling that he tries to recreate that and see if it works at first. Unfortunately, he's going to be facing a very, very solid attacking and defensive Arsenal team. So I think it's going to be snacks for Arsenal. I can see that game finishing 3-something to Arsenal's favor.
Yeah, I also think so. I mean, I don't know much other than what we've seen from Ange at his time at Spurs, right? But I think because he has been so true over the extended period of time that it was at Spurs to his system, I actually think it will be a big statement for him to come in and say, I am sticking to my guns and this is how we play, win, lose or draw. And then obviously with time can get to know more about his players and tweak things a little bit, right? But we'll see. Either way, I think, at the Emirates, that's a tough first game for Ange and Forest on Saturday. So I expect a win. But Samco, obviously, you saw what our players did away on international break. Merino had, an amazing break personally for him and his Spain. Odegaard had a really good break as well, coming up with, I think, a goal and a couple assists here and there. Rice just doing Rice things. But the most important thing is, looks like everybody so far, knock on wood, came back injury free. So how do you expect this team to set up, right? We had a last minute or late addition before the international break, but now everybody has had time to really be with the team, at least understand the team dynamic. So what do you see as a potential lineup against First on Saturday?
Would you be surprised if he still doesn't start Eze?
I think this time around I'll be surprised. And just to kind of keep things consistent, I think on the last, when we talked about Liverpool, I mentioned that he had just joined. For me, it was always unlikely that Eze would have taken all the information in and understood all the team dynamics, but it's been over a couple of weeks now. I could totally see him starting Eze, but again, with Mikel, you never know.
Well, okay, because for me, I know I thought about it today and I said, I think I can still see him not starting Eze yet. I hope he does, because if he decides not to start Eze, I think he makes only one change, which is Odegaard for Moreno. I think that's really change. Yeah, I think that's the only change he gets to make for this particular game. Hopefully two, because I would love Eze to actually start this game, especially in front of the home crowd and stuff like that. So in terms of the starting 11, I think most likely it's going to be Raya, Timber, Mosquera, because we haven't heard anything in terms of Saliba. So I think Saliba is still out for another week. So I think it's going to be Mosquera, Gabriel, Calafiori, Odegaard, Rice, and Zubimendi, Madueke, Gyökeres, and either Martinelli or Eze. Hope it's Eze.
Hope so too.
I really hope it's Eze, but I will not be shocked if Eze comes off the bench again, because I can really see him I can see him going for Eze in Europe because of the Champions League.
Oh, the Champions League is next week.
It's this week, yeah. And the European games are a little bit more open, so I can see him using that game to adjust him in. But hopefully Eze starts, because I think Eze should go in there, and we need to start building those relationships. Rice, Eze, Odegaard, Gyökeres, and all that. Yeah.
All right, let's quickly. We're about to round up. So what we'll quickly do is go around the league. Obviously Tobi's our guest here, so quickly, there are some other exciting games. We've talked about Man City and Manchester United. We've talked about Arsenal hosting Nottingham Forest, but we also have another London derby in West Ham and Spurs. Graham Potter is going through what is a difficult time now. How do you see that game playing out?
I think it's another L for West Ham. I think Spurs, they're having a good run right now. I think they won their last game as well, right? No, did they draw?
No, they lost to.
Oh, they
Bournemouth.
lost. Oh, yeah. Okay.
They lost at home.
That is wild. So they beat Man City and then went to lose, and then typical Spurs. I think West Ham is going through a lot. So I think Spurs walk away with a win. I think it's going to be a very open game, very exciting football. But I think Spurs wins that game.
Samco, final words on Spurs West Ham.
To be honest, I don't know what to expect from that game, because West Ham are going to be at home. I don't know how attacking Frank is going to be for this game, and at the same time how set, because I saw a bit of the second half of West Ham against Forest, and I was shocked. I had no idea where that performance came in from. So I will lean towards Spurs winning, but I'll not be shocked if it ends up in a draw. West Ham sneaking win, just for the fact they're at home.
I think West Ham has something interesting to deliver.
I think so.
This weekend. I think it's one of those games where everything is expected to go right for Spurs. And it being a London derby, a home game for West Ham, a lot of the pressure on that team, I think they'll find a performance from somewhere. I would not be surprised if they actually end up winning that game, even though I expect Spurs to dominate the game. And finally, Brentford-Chelsea, again, London-ish derby. So what do you guys make of that?
Not going to be an easy game for Chelsea.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think.
Because it's Brentford.
I actually think
Chelsea
that's an easy
always
one to
struggle.
call.
They just always struggle against Brentford. If Chelsea
Thomas
has a
Frank's
chance,
Brentford.
yes, exactly. That's the only way I see Chelsea really having a chance because it's a new manager. I saw their first 2 games. I didn't see their last game. Their second game was much better than the first. And I think their last game, I can't remember who they played. Was it Sunderland or something?
I think it was he? No,
I
Bournemouth
think
was
they
probably the
drew
first.
or they
Yeah, it was
lost.
Sunderland. They lost.
Are you talking
They
about
actually
it was
Brentford?
lost.
Sunderland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they lost at the last minute, right?
So they played Forest, they played Villa, and they played Sunderland. They lost
Yeah,
to
they lost
Sunderland
like very,
and
very
Forest.
last,
Sunderland
like
one.
90 something.
Yes. And that was where Sunderland's home.
Yep.
They were away
Yeah.
to Sunderland, yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be as easy as, and if I'm keeping it above, Chelsea hasn't really played well this season. But that's the difference about the quality of players that they have. So I think it's going to be a tight game too.
I actually think it's either going to be a draw or Brentford goes away with a win. Like a 1-0 or 2-1 sneaky win.
Guys, Chelsea is slapping those guys, man. I'm telling you, Chelsea is slapping Brentford. I don't know what
They
you're
have the
saying.
quality. They have the quality to do it.
They are
But I
going to
mean, bro,
slap those guys. I'm telling you.
this is the Premier League, right? That's the thing with the Premier League. There are just some grounds, regardless of manager or anything. Like Chelsea always struggle against Brentford.
Yeah, I don't see it, man. Because Thomas is gone, Mbemo is gone, Wissa is gone, right? Like, I think they lost a lot of the fabric of the previous
Fabric of the
regime,
team, yeah.
right? So Chelsea has way too much quality to drop points against Brentford. I think that's all we have, man. But once again, Toby, thanks so much for stepping into the lounge and sharing your thoughts. Obviously, an exciting game coming up for you and Man City this weekend. We wish you all the best, and you're always welcome to stop by anytime you want to chat it up, talk about football. It's an open invitation. So thanks for coming, and Samco, obviously, thanks for all the insights as well. And I think we'll see you guys same time next week.
All right. Have a good one. Have a good week.